Shalom. So we are Parasha VaYeshev now. Now he dwelt. Genesis 37, verse 1 to chapter 40 till the end. And the Haftarah is the prophet Amos 2, 6 to 3, verse 8. The Parasha is very rich again. I'm just going to touch little parts of it. I encourage you to study with us again. You will be really amazed, especially that the last parashot of the book of Genesis are just amazing, unveiling the Messiah. So Genesis 37 tells us, now Jacob dwelt, VaYeshev, in the land where his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. So the parasha talks us about the Yossef's tunic and his dreams, then after it's selling, and then in the middle of nowhere, there's just this story about Judah and Tamar, then coming back to Yossef, who is raised in the house of Potiphar, and this his problem with his wife and his integrity. Then he's been jailed, and the parasha ends with the dreams of Pharaoh's officers. So after dedicating a chapter to the genealogy of Esav, the Torah goes back to the story of Jacob and his sons, but this time Jacob is not going to be the main character, but Joseph. Jacob will spend, after the selling of Joseph, he will spend the rest of his life in mourning until the final family reunion with Joseph in Egypt. And the Zohar explained that the patriarchs are associated with the Sfirot of the tree of life. We talked about this already. Abraham representing the right side, chesed or mercy, while Isaac represents the left side with its severity, judgment, and Jacob being the mediator between the two, represented the Sfirat of Tiferet, which is balance and beauty. This middle pillar also represents the Messiah, which is the perfect balance between the mercy and the judgment. And when there is balance, there is health, there is harmony. And with the name Tiferet, which is the middle sphera, can be associated when you change the letters by therapy. It is the same root, in fact, just as like spirituality called sephirotality. This is not from me, I'm just quoting something very nice that I really like very much. And this is the same kind of words, meaning that when we are in harmony, there is balance and we are in good health. And then the abundance of God can go down through all the organs of our body. So this patriarch represents the vehicle for unveiling those divine attributes. Yossef is associated with the Sphira of Yesod, which is foundation, which is the lower one, because while Jacob being to that of Tiferet, which is one below the other, evoking like this a continuity of unveiling those divine attributes. And he also represents the Messiah ben Yossef. The next chapter will therefore tell us about this impressive character, Yossef, was the beloved son of Yaakov's beloved wife, the apple of his old father's eyes, and the object of hatred from his brothers. And moreover, as I mentioned, in those parasha, there are two stories that are overlaid. The Torah close to associate the story of the selling of Joseph to Egypt with that of Judah and Tamar. And Yossef and Judah are sons of different wives, Rachel and Leah, that are both representing the two houses of Israel. And both became firstborn in place of their elder brother. So those linked stories of the two brothers of the two houses of Judah and Ephraim, and their final confrontation to defend Benjamin, on which land the temple will be built, leads the Jewish tradition, to think that there will be two messiahs. They are the Messiah ben Yossef and the Messiah ben David. Messiah ben Yossef, as we have seen, is the suffering Messiah, who will give his life to bring back the lost tribes. And the Messiah ben David is the victorious Messiah who will come to reign as king over Israel. And as believers, we know that the two Messiahs are one. The suffering Messiah has already came to pave the way to redemption for the two houses of Israel and for the whole world, and we await his return as victorious Messiah on the land of Israel. But meanwhile, Jacob is sitting rest in the promised land. And we read Jacob dwelt, VaYeshev, in the land where his father sojourned. The word dwelt, VaYeshev, means to sit, to remain, to abide, but it's also the root of the word Shabbat. And the Torah indicates through this word that Jacob longs to settle in the promised land. He seeks the Shabbat of the Lord, which is quite normal. After more than 20 years of exile, hard work for Rachel and then losing her in death, then seeing his daughter raped, Dinah, it is time for him to rest. Unfortunately, Jacob has not yet reached the end, and the last trial with the selling of Joseph will deeply mark his life. And Rashi gives us the following interpretation in the name of the Midrash. Yaakov wanted to settle in peace, but Joseph's trouble jumped on him. The righteous long to settle in peace, so the Holy One, blessed is he, says, what is prepared for the righteous in the world to come is not enough. They also want to settle in peace in this world. So the disciples of the wise have no rest, either in this world or in the world to come, as it says. They go from strength to strength. Every one of them appear before God in Zion. There is a verse that is from Job attributed to Jacob. I am not at ease, nor I am quiet. I have no rest, for trouble comes. This is Job 3:26. I was not in peace when Esav pursued me to kill me. I was not quiet when he was in Laban's house. For 20 years I have suffered to obtain my 2 wives and my salary. Every day I had to be on the watch, ready to foil the malevolent plans of Laban against me. I did not rest when my daughter Dinah was raped by Hamor, prince of Shem, and wrath birthed against me when my son Yossef was ravished against me. And these 4 tragedies are implicitly contained in the word dwelt. You see those letters, they compose the name of Yossef, Dinah, Esav, and Laban. They are included in their names. The suffering of the righteous produce an eternal fruit. This is what we have to go through, a necessary suffering process to clean ourselves. 2 Corinthians 4:16 tells us, therefore we do not lose heart. Even though our outward man is perishing, yet the inward man is being renewed day by day, which is the purpose of our life on this earth. We came to fix ourselves. For a light affliction, which is but for a moment, is working for us as far more exceeding an eternal weight of glory, while we do not look at the things which are sins, but at the things which are not sin. For the things which are not sin are temporary, but the things which are not sin are eternal. Yeshua himself went through deep pain. Yet it pleased the Lord in Isaiah 53 to bruise him. He has put him to grief. When you make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. Pain is an inescapable process of purification, as we can read in 1 Peter 5. But may the God of all grace, who called us to his eternal glory by Messiah Yeshua, after you have suffered a while, will perfect, establish, strengthen, and settle you. And in Revelation 2 it says, and you have persevered and have patience and have labored for my name's sake and have not become weary. Kabbalah, the biblical Kabbalah, as I always mention, biblical Kabbalah I'm talking about in those videos, teaches us that just as the soul descends into the body in exile, all of creation is in a process of exile. We come to this land, to earth, to work our salvation, our tikkun, which is the reparation for the sins of the generation and so on. This is something that we have to fix. We have to emulate God's nature, which we lost after the sin, original sin. It is a necessary work, a spiritual work that is represented by the work of Messiah ben Yossef, who through his sacrifice enables us to obtain this shortcut, the circumcision of our heart, which in turn enable us to serve Hashem according to his criterion of holiness. So Messiah ben Yossef must, in a sense, precede Messiah ben David. We need to work our salvation. This is why we have put all this class together and this course about the restoration of the soul according to Jewish sources, Tikkun HaNefesh, that gives us the tools to work our salvation, to get rid of our bad character traits, to really emulate the nature of God. We need to reduce our ego to nothing, to the Golgotha, by the crucifixion of our flesh, the deeds of our flesh. So we need to also to turn evil into good. That is why at the end the numerical value of the word snake, serpent, is the same as that of Messiah, Nachash 358. So it is also the symbol of the night of exile, that must precede the light of redemption. This is why it says in the word there was evening and there was morning, day one. So we have to go through a process of darkness, of suffering, in order to raise up for light. This is in the Bible since the beginning. This is in order for us to be redeemed totally. So thus Jacob will have to pass through the night of exile, and he will show us the path of suffering. And this is one of the secret interpretations of the treasures of the Torah, that we sort out this pearl. This is why it is so important to study the Torah and to study in Yeshua, because he said that he mentioned that all the Torah is talking about his work. So we have to find out in each pages. Genesis 37, now Israel loved Yossef more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, Ben Skunim, and he also made a tunic of many colors, Ktonet Pasim. So we have many rich things, many riches in this only verse. It is about, first of all, Israel and not Yaakov. And the name Israel refers to the Messianic vocation. The prophetic name, the calling of Yossef as the son of the old age, and the tunic of many colors tells us of the Messiah and of the end times. The numerical value of skunim, old age, is the same as the word raz, which means secret, and zer, which means crown. This is secret, mystery, and a crown. And the word mystery alludes to the secret of the Torah that Jacob would have revealed and taught his son. And the crown refers to the royalty of the Messiah at the end of times, like we can read that it shall come to pass that everyone who is left of the nations which came against Jerusalem shall go from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. We mentioned the Feast of Tabernacles in the previous video. This was the destination through which Jacob was heading. Patriarchs already knew prophetically some parts of the Torah, as we can observe several times. You see the distinction between clean and unclean animals, the laws of the Levirate in our Parasha between Judah and Tamar, and so on. So Yaakov is teaching Joseph here the secrets of the end times. And the numerical value, one more time, of many colors, pasim, is the same as ketz, which means end, like in the expression the end of times, ketz haolam. So we're talking about some messianic prophecies here, revelation that Yossef needs to receive in order to fulfill them. Both of them, Joseph and Jacob, look like one another. Both were born from a barren mother and were the result of prayer. Both were hated by their brothers. Both experienced attempted murder from their brothers. Both became rich, married out of the promised land. Both had to go down to Egypt. Both died in Egypt, and both asked for their bones to be brought back to Israel. So we have another time an image of the unity between the father and the son that are represented here by Jacob and Joseph. And furthermore, every time that the scripture mentioned the name Israel, this is the synonym, the final vocation of the Hebrew people, it refers to the Messiah. What, in fact, Yaakov transformed into Prince of God Israel loved in Yossef was the Messiah, the characteristic of the Messiah. And he knew that he was going to transfer him the secrets that now our generation are unveiling one more time. Yossef all by himself had all the characteristics of the whole tribes, the status of the firstborn of Reuben, the prophetic power of Levi by interpreting dreams, the sovereignty of Judah as governor of Egypt, the wisdom of Issachar to discern times. And Yeshua also accumulated the anointings, firstborn, prophet, high sacrificator, great sacrificator, judge, and king of kings. And then immediately after the text, it confirms the messianic dimension of Joseph by the dreams that he makes. So there are many dreams in the story of Joseph, and Midrash said that Joseph fell through a dream. It started with a dream because of his brother's jealousy, and then he obtained glory back through a dream by interpreting Pharaoh's dream. And the Talmud considers a dream as a minor prophecy. There would be three kinds of dreams, so I'm not just going to really survey them. Prophetic dreams, then dreams caused by daily activities, and then dreams inspired by bad spirit. So here are a few quotes from the Talmud. Rabbi Isda said, any dream rather than one of a fast. Rabbi Isda also said, a dream which is not interpreted is like a letter which is not read. He also said, neither a good dream nor a bad dream is ever wholly fulfilled. A bad dream is better than a good dream, and so on. And there's this quote, which is interesting for our parasha. A verse declares in Jeremiah 23:28, a prophet that had a dream, let him tell him a dream. And he that has my word, let him speak my word faithfully. What has the straw to do with the wheat, say the Lord? So, what is the connection between straw and wheat with the dream in this quote? So the truth is, said Rabbi Yohanan, in the name of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar, that just as wheat cannot be without straw, so there cannot be a dream without some nonsense. Meaning that there's kind of mixture here. So the Talmud goes on and on about the meaning of the dreams, but we must stop here on this last passage because this is related to our parasha, for our search of Messiah. So the first dream is the dream of the sheaves. There, vehine, we were binding sheaves in the field. Then, behold, vehine, my sheaf arose and also stood upright. And indeed, vehine, note that in Hebrew is the same word, your sheaf stood all around and bowed down to my sheaf. Sorry. The word behold, vehine, appears 3 times in Joseph's dreams, and this is an interpolation making the account sound lively and real, like a real story. The 3 times would be a reference to the 3 times when Joseph's brother went down to Egypt, when the famine began, when Joseph revealed himself to them, and where they finally went down with Jacob. The brothers were shepherds, not farmers. So it means that we're talking here about a prophetic spiritual harvest, not a physical one. So if we proceed by allusion, which is one of the 4th degree of interpretation of the Torah, when do we see harvest, talking about harvest in the Brit Hadasha in the New Testament? In Matthew 13. This is talking about the wheat and the sheaves and the chaff. We find again the theme of the spiritual fight between Esav and Jacob that started from Parasha Toldot. So please watch the videos one after the one because it's Parasha is building on top of one another. So talking about the spiritual fight between Esav and Jacob, between the good seeds and the weeds. The field is the world, and Joseph's brothers will be scattered in the world. Judah has partly come back from exile, but Ephraim is still fighting against Esav and his doctrine, represented by weeds. And it is also the harvest of the end times. It is the image of the resurrection of Messiah, the seed that lives again, symbolized by the standing sheaf, and the sheaf that is shaken after Pesach in sign of resurrection. And finally, it talks about the resurrection of the righteous. Like it says in Matthew 13, then the righteous will shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. And in Psalm 84, it says, they go from strength to strength. Each one appears before God in Zion. The appearance of the righteous in Zion will be based on the sacrifice of the Messiah, Ben Yossef, the suffering Messiah. Yeshua who came humbly to offer himself for the sins of his people. The numerical value of Zion, is that of Yossef, the same one. And his Torah will be also the mean, he will do the separation between the good seeds and the weeds. And we read in Daniel 12, those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the firmament. Yaziru kazoar, this is what is written textually. They will shine like the Zohar. And those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. By the word Vehine, behold, the Messiah was announced to the people of Israel. Zechariah 9, rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion, shout, O daughter of Jerusalem, behold, Vehine, your king is coming to you, is just and having salvation, Yeshua, lowly and riding on a donkey, a colt, the foal of a donkey. So the first dream was partly fulfilled, as Yossef, 11's brother, did bow before him in Egypt 5 times. It's all the verses I mentioned in the study. And the number 3 announces the resurrection, and the number 5, grace, mercy, and multiplication, as we will try to develop in the next parashot. By grace, Yossef will gather his brothers and feed them, and by grace, the Messiah ben Yossef, Yeshua, who will raise to offer himself as bread of life for everyone. Then after we have the dream of the sun, the moons, and the stars. And he dreamed still another dream and told to his brothers and say, look, vehin ine, I have dreamed another dream, and this time, hine, the sun, the moon, and the 11th star bowed down to me. This time it's heavenly elements who are bowing before Joseph. The metaphor is different, but the message is the same. The dream is confirmed twice as Yeshua's coming. And the presence of Rachel in the dream, which was dead at the time, evokes the resurrection of the dead. It is the reign of the Messiah, the rule of the Messiah on Israel. The stars represent Jacob's posterity, numerous as the stars. The moon represents Israel, and the sun represents the patriarch. As we read in Revelation 12, now a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under his feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars, the 12 tribes. And the word behold, hine, is mentioned twice, like one more time the 2 coming of Yeshua. One as suffering Messiah, one as victorious Messiah. With this word again, behold, vehine, he will come back on the clouds in the eyes of the whole world. In Daniel 7 says, I was watching on the night visions, and behold, vehine, one like the Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven. He came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. On that day he will receive the complete dominion, and every knee shall bow before him. Daniel 7 again. Then to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom. Then all peoples, nations, and languages shall serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom the one which shall not be destroyed. And in Romans 14 it quotes the same, for it is written, as I live, saith the Lord, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue shall confess to God. And then the words of the brothers will then take their full prophetic meaning. In Genesis 37:8 they say, and his brothers say to him, shall you indeed reign, amaloch timloch, over us? Or shall you indeed have dominion, mashol timshol, over us? So they hated him even more for his dream and for his words. So I cannot develop all the passage here, but those words, part of them characterize the two coming of Yeshua. In Zechariah 9 it says, rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion, shout of daughter of Jerusalem, before your king Malkech, is coming to you, is just and having salvation, Yeshua, lowly and riding on a donkey, a colt, the foal of a donkey. I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim and the horse from Jerusalem. The battle bow shall be cut off. He shall speak peak to the nations. His dominion, mashlo, shall be from sea to sea and from the river to the ends of the earth. And on that day he will reign over the kingdom of Israel, as mentioned in Zechariah 6:12. Then speak to him, saying, thus said the Lord of hosts, saying, behold, the man whose name is a branch. From his place he shall branch out, and he shall build the temple of the Lord. Yes, he shall build the temple of the Lord. He shall bear the glory, and shall sit and rule, umashal, same word, on his throne. So he shall be a priest on his throne, and the council of peace shall be between them both. However, the character of Yossef presents only part of the works of Messiah. His human nature teach about the fights of the flesh, the deed of the flesh. The time of rest for Jacob has not come yet, and his preference for his son Yossef will be prejudicial to his son. But this is talking about working our salvation. It is developed also in the story and in the study I was mentioning, restoring the soul according to Jewish sources. Now we have to work on our salvation, and for this the Messiah is sent to help us. And this is the story of Joseph being sent to his brother. And then the text tells us, and Israel, in 37:13, Israel said to Joseph, "Are not your brothers feeding the flock in Shechem? Come, I will send you to them." He said to him, "Here I am, hineni." One more time the same word, hine. Then he said to him, "Please go and see if it is well with your brothers and well with the flocks, and bring back word to me." So he sent him out of the valley, Emek of Hebron, and he went to Shechem. Now a certain man found him, and there he was, wandering in the field, Basadeh, and the man Ha'ish asked him, saying, "What are you seeking?" So he said, "I'm seeking my brothers. Please tell me where they are feeding their flocks." And the man said, "They have departed from here, for I heard them say, 'Let's go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went after his brothers and found them in Dothan. So I cannot develop all the richness that is in these verses, just a few of them. The Midrash reports that the man Ha'ish was the man that Yossef met, was the angel Gabriel, who is also called Ha'ish in the book of Daniel. The angel Gabriel is also the one who announced salvation to Miriam. So what it means to us, it means that Yossef, Yeshua, is sent as a savior for his brothers who are lost in a valley, the valley of sins. Yisrael, the name related to the Messianic vocation, is used here, not Jacob. He sends his son. So meaning that the Messiah is being foreshadowed here. Although Jacob knows the hatred of his sons toward Joseph, he knows that they don't love him at all. He doesn't hesitate to send him to inquire their peace. Likewise, the father did not hesitate to send a part of him to his people, the flock of his pasture. In this, the love of God was manifested toward us, that God has sent his only begotten Son unto the world, that he might live through him. And the Father himself was sent me, as testified to me, "You have neither heard his voice at any time nor seen his form, but I am being sent to you." So Yossef, Yeshua, is erring in the fields, is wandering in the field, looking for his brothers. And the field, as we have seen, is an image of the world. So one more time, the field, we have the theme of the wheat and the weeds that reappears. It means that Yossef was wandering in the fields of Esav, of Rome, to bring back his brother to the true doctrine, that of the Torah. Yeshua was sent to his brothers, those of the house of Judah and those of the house of Ephraim, lost in the western doctrine of Esav. So I encourage you to re-look at the playlist of Babylon, where you will see some videos talking about what is exactly the doctrine of Babylon. Yeshua also came to seek the sheep of the nation. He say, "And other sheep I have which are not of this fold, there also I must bring, and they will hear my voice, and there will be one flock and one shepherd." But the mystery of this redemption process goes through the valley of Hebron. So first of all, Hebron is a wonderful place. It is something, there is a mystery in Hebron. It's associated to the patriarch, to the temple, to the resurrection of the dead. But for you, all this is developed in depth in our class on mystical geography and history of the land of Israel, which is just a must course that you need to take if you want to know more on the land you're going to dwell one day, all the different spiritual aspects of it. But the question is Hebron located in a valley? If you know a little bit the geography of Israel, you know that no, Hebron is not at all located on a valley, but at the opposite, on a higher hill. But the term valley, Emek, comes from the same root as Amak, which means deep, profound, hidden. Like out of the depth I've cried to you, O Lord, Mima Amakim. So it talking about something hidden down below, maybe in our hearts. This valley images the valley of sin and reveals the mystery hidden in Joseph's story. And we have to work out all those deep inside us things that we need to remove and to go up to the hill instead of being in the valley. On that day, the Targum of Jonathan comments and say, "The exile from Egypt began. Yossef heads towards the depth of the Egyptian exile, which represents sin, as Egypt means Mitzrayim, it is the narrowness of the sin, the kind of jail we are in. This exile that was announced to Abraham, who lays to rest in Hebron. His brothers will sell him to fulfill the mysterious destiny and the purpose of the redemption. Among men's sins, Yeshua came seeking his people to redeem them. He had to go through the exile far away from his Father's face to bring reconciliation between God and by putting to death the deeds of the flesh. Working our salvation is now possible due to his sacrifice. And we are called to do it, to work our salvation. We are called to return to the bosom of the Father to unify with him. So I'm really encouraging you to come and join us at the yeshiva. Start with the book of Genesis. You will be amazed by the revelation that are inside talking about our Messiah. And take in parallel the course of restoration of the soul according to Jewish sources to work your salvation. To know the Torah and sanctification. Torah and sanctification. And discover who you are, what your name means, what the roots of your soul, what is the roots of your soul, how you can fight your bad trait like anger, jealousy, pride are the main bad characters, and especially what the tools you have been given to bring the light into the world with the torch of our Messiah. So thank you very much for listening, and I wish you a holy Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.